So what can you do with public domain materials? Well, the simple answer to this question is that you can do more or less whatever you want to do with public domain materials. As an example, imagine that you downloaded a public domain book that you found somewhere on the web. The first option is to republish the work as is without making any modifications or changes. In this case, if there is an author accredited with the work, you could republish it under their name and change nothing, or you could add your name as the author. This would not always be an efficient or profitable use of these materials, however. To begin with, the fact that you've downloaded it obviously means that it's available online. Hence, if you republish it as is, you don't really enhance the value of the content, so you're unlikely to make much money. This doesn't mean that you can't make any money utilizing this strategy, because you can. The fact is, even a book you've downloaded for free can be used as a profit center, because whilst you know that it costs nothing, others are not necessarily aware of the fact. So as long as you market the book in the right way, more of which later, you might be able to sell it for a few dollars a copy, despite the fact that it costs you nothing. Scale this up to sell dozens of copies and you can make money with very little effort this way. Even so, this strategy is definitely not the best way of using public domain materials. There are so many other things that you can do that are likely to be far more profitable. For a start, you can add your own content to create a derivative work. You see, if you download public domain materials and use them as they are, these materials remain in the public domain. However, if you rework these materials, the rights that you claim to these work change depending on how you rework them. To begin with, the minimum that I would recommend is adding extra content to these public domain materials before republishing them. For instance, I always add at least one new chapter of completely unique content at the beginning and end of every public domain book that I republish. This way, I can ensure that I'm entitled to claim to be the author of this new work. I can also change the name of the book and add a copyright notice to it. Do, however, note that, well, technically speaking at least, you can only copyright the unique derivative work that you added to the book. In other words, the first and last chapters in this particular case. The rest of the content that you downloaded and used is still in the public domain and can therefore be used by anyone else who wants to use it. Another option is to go through the content and rewrite it in its entirety. This way, you create a completely unique document which is entirely yours. You can therefore claim authorship and copyright the whole new document as well. Doing this obviously entails more work than adding additional content to what is essentially the original public content. However, it often makes sense to make the extra effort for a couple of reasons. To begin with, a lot of works that are in the public domain are pretty old. Now, this doesn't necessarily devalue the worth of the contents, but many of these works can definitely be improved by updating them. The message that these books carry may still be as appropriate today as it was years ago. Nevertheless, the language used is outdated and old-fashioned, sometimes making it difficult for a modern audience to understand the words and/or the message that the books carry. Hence, rewriting a book like this takes some time and effort, but it's justified as it enables you to produce something of high quality and value that's entirely your own work. This new book can be copyrighted. You are the author, and you're the only person in a position to sell it. Thus, you have a top quality product that's 100% unique, and although it takes some work to create it, it's far less effort required than producing your own product from a blank sheet of paper. Another highly effective way of using public domain materials is by changing the format at the same time or instead of modifying the content itself. For instance, you could break a public domain book or ebook down into a number of short reports or even an article series. You could use these articles for marketing purposes or use the shorter reports as the basis of a fixed-term membership site. To consider the marketing aspect first, you could extract short, high-quality passages from any public domain materials you're working with as the basis of a marketing article series. One option would be to use these reworked materials as content for your own site. However, you could go a lot further with this. Around 400 words that have been rewritten to make them unique and up-to-date will be more than adequate to submit to leading article directories such as eZine Articles, which is ezinearticles.com, Article City, Article Dashboard, and Go Articles. Add links to your site in the resource box that you post with these articles, and you'll generate both targeted traffic and links to your site. Taking this one stage further still, you may know of some leading e-zine or email newsletter publishers in your market or niche. If you do, you can use these contacts to help you publicize your business. If not, look up prominent e-zine editors using directories like this one here, the e-zine directory, which is www.ezine-dir.com, or this one here, Best E-zines, you see here is bestezines.com. Write to the editors offering to create a unique article for their newsletter or site, in return for which all you want is a link. Most newsletter publishers find it very difficult to produce high quality content for their e-zine month after month. Consequently, an offer to help them with high quality content that only they have access to is a gift from the gods for many. The majority will snap the offer up. Your link is placed in a trusted publication that's delivered to the inbox of a superbly well-targeted audience. This strategy almost always increases site visitor numbers and therefore sales. In a similar vein, search for authority blogs and sites in your niche to present a similar offer to the webmaster involved. Offer to create an article for their blog or site in return for a link. As in the previous example, authority sites are by definition trusted, and as a consequence, many regular visitors will check out their links. Once again, this increases your site visitors whilst generating incoming links from some highly regarded authority sites. Google loves links in general and incoming authority links in particular. This tactic will therefore help your search rankings. In truth, the way that you use the articles you create from public domain source materials to market your business is only limited by your own imagination and experience. There are many other ways that you can use them, as the basis for forum postings for example, but you get the picture. There are a multitude of public domain self-improvement books around. One option might therefore be to grab 3 or 4 books that you like, as this will provide enough content for a 12-month fixed-term membership site for which you could charge, say, $37 a month. Over 12 months you'd therefore generate $444 from each individual member, assuming that they stayed on board. To put it another way, that would be $88,800 in total from a 200-member site over the course of a year, or $7,400 of passive income each and every month. Not a bad return from downloading, splitting and editing 3 or 4 free or extremely cheap public domain ebooks. Instead of taking a longer public domain piece and splitting it, you could make money from doing the opposite too. For instance, if you have a series of shorter reports focused on the same market or niche, you could collate them into an ebook of your own. Write an introduction to the effect that the works collected in this volume represent some of the best information in the market over the past 100 years. Add in lots of images and footnotes wherever possible to, just to break up the flow of the original public domain materials and make the finished product less like a copy. Include a final paragraph or two to close the book. Add an image to the cover, and finally turn the finished work into a PDF document with your name on it, and I'll show you how to do this for free later on. And voila, you have a unique ebook of your own. So far we've considered how you make money using public domain content that you change only slightly. Converting ebooks into articles and reports, or articles into ebooks, means you haven't changed the format entirely, right? They were words and they're still words at the end of the day. However, there's nothing to prevent you repositioning your public domain content completely by changing everything, including the basic format. For example, how about turning one of the articles that you created earlier into a video? Similarly, any of your short reports can be turned into a video series with which you publicize your business or populate your site as suggested earlier. Although it may sound a little difficult, turning articles into videos is in fact quite easy. You can use free software like OpenOffice Impress, which you can download here from openoffice.org, to turn your article into a presentation, and you can use a free screen capture software program like Cam Studio, which you can get here from camstudio.org, to record the action. Save the recording and you have your video ready to be uploaded to social networking sites like YouTube, the Dailymotion, which is dailymotion.com, or even your Facebook account or your MySpace account as well. Alternatively, you could simply publish the video on your own site. Take the articles or reports and turn them into audio materials or podcasts. All you need to do is read the words that you've already written, and you have another product that you can sell or give away. How about taking some of the wise words from your public domain content and turning them into images that can be used as pictures for the wall or for posters and so on? This works really well with old-fashioned language, because even if the content isn't wise at all, the fact that no one really understands these words make them appear to be words of wisdom. Many companies make a lot of money with old-fashioned posters and pictures by selling from their own websites as well as through popular sites like eBay and Amazon.com. As well as written content materials that are in the public domain, there are millions of videos, movies and images that are similarly freely available to all. You can therefore incorporate these materials into your plans to make your business more profitable as well. For example, movies made before 1923 are in the public domain. You could therefore take a snippet of any number of classic black and white movies or Laurel and Hardy comedies to publicize your business. You could use images on your site and in your marketing materials. As you've probably gathered by now, you have what amounts to a free hand with most public domain materials. There is, however, one proviso of which you need to be aware of if you are to stay the right side of the legal line. All public domain materials can by definition be used by anyone for anything. However, the place from where you download these materials may apply restrictions of their own, and you must comply with them. As an example, the online digital gallery of the New York Public Library carries more than 1 million high-quality images, a veritable history of New York and its environs. The vast majority of these images are in the public domain, so you could in theory use them for any purpose with impunity. However, the Permissions, Terms and Conditions page, which is the one we're looking at the screen now, this clearly states that you cannot do so. Instead, you have to pay for any image that you want to use, and can only do so if you follow the rules laid out by the library. Now, restrictive licenses of this type are not uncommon, especially if you're using materials that are held by a public body. It's therefore essential to check what you can and can't do before going ahead. If you find that there's a restrictive third-party license applied to some public materials that you want to use, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's the end of the line. Oftentimes, searching elsewhere for the same content by name will turn up trumps. Remember, just because one place applies a restrictive license to a particular content piece doesn't mean that everyone who has it does the same. Searching often turns up alternative sources that you can use without any concerns or restrictions. Okay, now we've covered all that. In the next video, I'll show you where to find public domain materials.